Here's another episode of What's Your Reason? And now, here's your host, Jerry Matt Poster.
Welcome to What's Your Reason, where our contestants will run up to a cash prize of $1 billion. Our first contestant, Christy White, 20-year-old UC sophomore who spends her spare time getting manicures, studying, and hanging out with her gal pals. And next, contestant 2, Nancy McOakes from Golden Fields, Minnesota. A 42-year-old stay-at-home mother of 8 with one on the way who enjoys sewing, milking, and reading the Bible to her youngins. And contestant number 3, Ron Kellis, a 45-year-old philosophy professor with a beautiful 3-year-old daughter. Our returning champion, how you doing, Ron? Alright, so for these questions, you're going to answer to the best of your abilities, say what you would do in the situation, and explain your reasoning a bit. Question number 1. You're walking on the street and you see a man carrying a briefcase. He puts the briefcase to the ground for a moment to examine it when a $100 bill pops out of it without him noticing. You are following quick on his trail. What do you do? Christy?
Well, I don't really see why a man would be walking around with a briefcase full of money, and sounds strange to me. And so I think that I would probably keep the $100 bill and not tell him. But I don't think this is wrong because I think I would probably put the money to better use than he would. I think I would spend the money at my college bookstore and support my college.
Nancy?
Well now, Jerry, I think I would have to keep the $100 for myself. You see, my family's going through some hard times right now. Now that Bob broke his leg and can't take care of the farm. So I would take the money to feed my children and feed my cows. And I don't think that people should think that that's a bad choice, because I'm an honest woman, and I would have returned the money if, say, I thought that the man needed it, but it sounds like I need it more than he does, so I think that it'd be better if I kept the money.
Yes. And you, Ron?
Well, Jerry, although I would love to have kept the money and used it to my own advantage, I feel I would be morally obliged to go up to the man and inform him of his loss and return the money, because I don't want to have to deal with the conflicting cognitions of whether or not I'm a moral person. And it actually reminds me of this psychological phenomenon called cognitive dissonance. It's when we have two conflicting thoughts in our head and we are forced to change one based on how we feel about it and how they conflict with each other, and it causes dissonant thinking.
That's immaculate reasoning, and for that I'm going to have to give you the point, because indeed the other two have fallen prey to cognition. Question number 2. Does the fact that chemistry's roots are based in alchemy change its validity to you? Christy?
Yes, actually, I would have to say most definitely, because I took a chem class last quarter, and I did not do very well in it, which I don't understand because I'm a straight A student. But I guess that the fact that it comes from a sort of mystical belief, alchemy, now it makes sense to me. So yeah, false.
I think it's completely false. All the alchemy stuff, that just sounds like witchcraft if you ask me.
And you, Ron?
Well, Jerry, although that may seem to make sense sometimes, chemistry is actually a science deeply rooted in research and scientific basis, and to simply assume that it's wrong based on its origins, well, that's just fallacious.
Thinking that something is invalid due to its roots is expressing the genetic fallacy, and I believe you, Ron, are the only one who overcame that fallacy, so I'm going to have to give you Question 3. You are set up on a blind date, and upon meeting this person, you find out that they share the same birthday as you. Do you see this as just coincidence or something more? Destiny, perhaps? Chrissy?
Well, I would definitely find it very odd. I would think that was very strange. But I'm a Gemini, and I know from astrology that Geminis are not supposed to be in romantic relationships together. They're not very compatible.
Your answer, Nancy?
Well now, if you ask me, that sounds like a pretty spooky situation that I want to have nothing to do with.
Yes, and Ron?
Well, actually, Jerry, it would be a coincidence if these sort of things didn't happen, I would have to say. Because most people, they don't realize it, but they wrongly assume that coincidences like this happen for a reason, and they assign all these mystical beliefs towards them. But actually, statistically speaking, probability shows that these instances are fairly common, and it would be strange if they didn't happen.
Yes, and again, Ron, tapping one more for you. And now, we're on to our final round. Question number 4. Waiting in line to board the bus, you realize that you've forgotten your bus pass. You see the man ahead of you in line conversating with the bus driver, but indeed not showing him his pass as well. You assume that you will be on scotch-free if you just tell the bus driver what happens, but upon explaining, the bus driver shuts you down. How do you respond, and what do you assume is happening in this situation? Christy?
I would probably assume that he's not taking pity on me because he thinks I'm privileged or something unfair like that. And I'm sure I would be very angry. I'd probably complain to the manager.
Nancy?
Well now, I would have to tell that young boy that he's being very rude and assume that his mama didn't raise him properly. So I would just get very upset and blame it on his mama.
And you, Ron?
Well, Jerry, I don't think it's any of my business why the man previous to me was let on board. Maybe he was another bus driver coming home from work or something, or maybe he showed him a transfer and I simply didn't see it. Either way, I think there are plenty of other explanations possible besides just the bus driver didn't like me in particular.
Well, Ron, you're absolutely correct. There's no reason to jump to conclusions and be so rash. I'm going to assign you the 4th point. Let's do some calculation here. And it turns out Ron is again today's victory, continuing his winning streak. Congratulations, buddy. Yes! I'm sorry that you guys are the losers. Thanks for appearing today, and thank you for your time.
I'm not a loser. He was a fixed game show.
You know what, Jerry, young man? You're a bad man, and it's your fault that we didn't win.
What has gotten into those two?
Oh my god.
Well, Ron, you're this week's winner. I'll see you next week. And when you get the chance to win $1 trillion! Hi, Jeremy Coasting here. I just want to remind you that reasoning won't only get you far in life and in school, but it also may win you $1 billion! I'll see you guys in the next installment of What's Your Reason?